Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Shuttlecast.
Oh, yeah. The 4th.
Oh my God.
June 26, 2024, everybody. Welcome. I'm Sal.
I'm Josiah.
I'm Nathan.
Oh, my God. What a dopamine hit. Oh, Jesus.
Sometimes you get your ducks lined in a row like that, and that's the best thing there is.
We're so absolutely back. It was over. Now we're back. And so now, finally, we just get the... All right, let's do this podcast, everybody.
It was so over, I permanently put it in my past projects, and I took it off current projects on my website. That's how you know.
Then one day we found out there was a way where we could do it again, but piss easy. And we were like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, we can do that. That's a lot easier. Thank you.
That was great.
oh, Christ, save me.
So this is the Shuttlecast. We're just going to talk about whatever. I brought topics.
I have a few like minor topics, and then I figured probably some of the topics you already have. I was planning to talk about anyway, so I figured this won't be that difficult to have stuff to talk about.
So the biggest thing I want to talk about, so not the biggest, that's stupid of me.
The first thing
is let's talk about what's going on in the world of movies. So a really cool thing happened with I always have a problem with movie trailers that they they come out on YouTube and there's the 5-second like trailer starts now, which I understand why it's there.
The teaser for the trailer.
I get it. It's because that's the same video they use for the YouTube ad.
Yes, and shorts and TikTok can play that easier.
Yeah, so I get it. I don't like it. Because half the time I see a trailer, I know what it is. So some trailers are edited as if I was not going to know what the trailer was before I started watching the trailer. Like the Beetlejuice trailer was edited as if it was like, what's this going to be? Wait, is this Beetlejuice? And then it's like, but the whole time you're like, you look down, and it says Beetlejuice trailer 20 whatever. And you're like, I know what this is. But they did a cool marketing thing where for the weekend only, the opening weekend for the Bike Riders, exclusively in theaters, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bubby.
Which is one of the reasons I went to go see the Bike Riders in theaters.
I didn't know it got exclusive because I did see the trailer on YouTube.
Yes, I think yesterday or Monday it popped on.
Yeah, it'd have been out though.
Yeah, so it was in theaters only for like 2 or 3 days, and only for the Bike Riders.
The funny thing is, people have been memeing online about I've been waiting 102 years for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. And I keep being that pretentious prick who's like, I've actually just been waiting since '79, because the Werner Herzog movie. So
we'll see. Other people just have class, and they're like, oh yeah, '70s Nosferatu is trash.
I will say that the '70s Nosferatu, unfortunately, I did not like it as much as the silent film. So
I just love that the meme going around was the guy who keeps turning the lights on and off in SpongeBob is finally getting his own movie. So that's
pretty funny, actually. Yeah.
That is like Boruto's dad.
Jesus Christ, that fucking meme was so bad.
See, the funny thing about Boruto's dad is that it was funny and then immediately became unfunny, but it's now gone so long that it's looped back around to being funny again.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think it's stuck in that state now.
Yeah, it can't get bad now because now it's a part of culture.
Precisely.
I'm just really excited in the Nosferatu movie to see how he becomes like a giant like Minotaur man and fights like the Band of the Hawk. That's like the biggest.
That's a good point. I'm just glad that Renfield is getting a prequel since we have Nicholas Hoult returning.
It's my personal opinion that Renfield, Demeter, and this are all in the same universe.
Well, no, but that won't work because this is using the original names that were changed for copyright, so it's Orlok and not Dracula.
He can change his names in a couple hundred years.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Congratulations on your transition, Nosferatu, into Dracula.
Into Dracula.
Happy Pride Month. So the trailer looks fantastic. I'm a little sad it's not Anya Taylor-Joy, but I think she was busy doing Furiosa probably. But
yeah,
recovering probably from Furiosa.
But I think Lily Rose Depp needs this after The Idol. So good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can all agree that Johnny Depp's daughter is more talented than M. Night's daughter. So
I didn't watch The Watchers because okay, listen. So I have beef with that trailer. It sucks. And not in the it sucks like the Twisters trailer sucks. The Twisters trailer sucks, but in like an endearing way. Like this is so
I will say it's
sucky that it's funny.
Yeah. Now that they don't have the letters of the title coming in one at a time, that has helped tremendously.
I had one movie where they didn't have the letters, and I was like, oh, thank God. Then the next movie I saw, they had the letters, and I'm like, God fucking damn it.
They're weaning you off of it. God. They don't want to, free you from it completely.
I saw a different variant of the Nicole Kidman AMC ad when I went to go see The Bike Riders.
Yeah, they've changed it now. They have like two different ones floating around.
They have three different edits of the original takes they did. So the one I got today for the first time was when I was a little girl, the movies were always magical or something. And I was like, what? I literally sat up in the theater. I was like, oh.
It's the Karen Gillian Doctor Who Season 6 edits where she's like, when I was a little girl. That one. I think Nathan made that joke. Never mind.
I'll take credit for it. But also, it's like, thank you for that. It's like in Red versus Blue, where the original. This is late season lore.
This is crazy.
But the original AI that split into a bunch of partial AIs like Church and a couple others.
Yes.
Where it's like they are individually lesser, but together they are greater than the sum of their parts. So that's.
I'd say so.
That was a cool thing that the AMC trailers, took inspiration from.
Right.
Well, I mean, since Earth Street's on the chopping block up for auction, they might as well just take whatever they can,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it looks like Warner Brothers is probably going to get them because they did that crossover with Justice League or whatever.
Oh, fuck my.
Ruby did.
Hole.
Sorry, not.
I think from what I last heard, Ruby was like secured by someone, or I think by Warner Brothers. That property is like safe, but it's the other stuff that's kind of up in the air nebulously. I think they're still doing some podcasts. But I listened to Morning Somewhere by Bernie Burns. I've evolved. I'm past the Rooster Teeth.
There you go.
I now listen to the adult podcast. Because I'm refined. So so Nosferatu is great. Looks fantastic.
It does look very good.
Can't wait to see it. It was did either of you see The First Omen?
No.
Super good.
I did not.
There's a shot in The First Omen that reminds me of a shot that played in the Nosferatu trailer. There's a bit like in The First Omen where like it's like cuts of like aerial shots of like Rome, and they're like zooming in, and as they're zooming in, there's like this angel choir going like. And then there's the shot in the Nosferatu trailer of the hand shadow over the city.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is. I'm happy everyone got the right lessons from Doctor Sleep and aerial, like city skyline terror.
100%.
And I think that's also kind of a cool. I haven't seen the silent film in a long time, but the hand over the city seems to be a kind of an expansion of that original shot of the shadow on the stairwell, and they're taking it to its zenith. So
yeah,
because the rats get released into the city and everything. So
we should definitely do a Nosferatu episode when the movie comes out.
I got Blu-ray of the OG. So.
We've done the Vivitch and we've done the Lighthouse. So we
didn't do Northman, did we?
No, we didn't do Northman.
It's great. Go watch it. That's a review.
I'd be happy to do a Nosferatu one. I have to revisit the silent one, and then you guys have to watch the Werner Herzog one.
It's true.
That's another one where they do the weird. They do it in German and in English, and they literally shoot it in two different languages.
I just watched a movie that did that, and it's very interesting how They're like, yeah, we're not just going to dub it. We're actually going to reshoot the scenes in these two different languages.
I watched it in English, and it was still really good.
Yeah, I feel like certain things should do that. I think certain stuff that has like a wide cultural appeal, like for a while I always thought if they did like a new, like if like Death Note got like a TV show, they should do like it in both English and Japanese because there's a wide audience for both.
Yeah.
And I'd rather they just do the English than segue. Did you guys hear that David Fincher is doing a American adaptation of Squid Game show?
Yeah, I heard.
Oh.
Why? I mean, I'm happy it's him because I thought the same thing years ago when I heard that he was doing Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then I watched it.
And that was that's a 5-star film.
Fair point.
But I feel like it was a 5-star film that its original language adaptation was maybe like not as great. It's still good.
Okay. Yeah. The original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is like pretty good, but the Fincher movie just blows it out of the water. So it's
Whereas
like
I'm not.
I was going to say that seems of a piece because from what I've heard it both ways. I've heard Squid Game is like, the most amazing thing since like anal beads, but
it's good. It's a really good show, but I mean, it's not like there's plenty of other Korean films that are way better than it.
Yeah, it just sounds like baby's first Korean film, and it's like,
honestly,
great stuff, and it's like, this is fine.
A reason why I didn't watch is because I heard what the plot was, and I was like, oh, so it's like a Korean movie.
I
was I've seen these. There's a death game. Okay.
It is a good show, but I will say that like I didn't watch the Snowpiercer show, but I love the Snowpiercer film.
Segue.
Obviously, that's not totally in. That's a Korean director and mostly non-Korean actors, but I know they made a show out of it, and apparently it was bad. So
they just announced the trailer for the final season. So
I'm surprised it got more than
it has. No, that's the funny thing. I feel like Snowpiercer was like a coworker show where like no one online talks about it, but like
people watch it.
People do watch it.
Yeah.
It's like
that's a good term, coworker show. Yeah,
because it's that cable show where like you talk about it with anyone online, they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of crap. But for people who watch cable TV and don't like discuss media even casually online, just like, oh yeah, I watch that. It's
my god, have you seen Animal Kingdom?
Oh god,
that's a fucking coworker show, bro. That's the show where it's like, hey, Diane in accounting, what are you watching? Oh, Animal Kingdom.
I will say something that I did want to bring up on this podcast is that in the break between the last resurgence of Shuttlecast and now Spotlight. We have all I know you kind of were into it first, Sal, but we've all kind of been using our Letterboxd accounts more.
This is the thing I do with my life is I will get into something that is like niche and new, and I'll get kind of into it, and I'll share with other people who will get so much more into it than I ever was. I'm like the prophet. I'm like, look at this, and then I move on to the next thing to find. Because you guys have embraced Letterboxd, which I love. I love going on there and seeing you guys are like logging everything and reviewing stuff. It's been so fucking nice to see.
See, it was kind of a revelation because for a long time I wanted to track and keep an account of everything I've seen and when I watched it, because my grandmother used to do that with the books she read. She literally kept like a journal and wrote down like every single book she ever read, and like they gave it a star review. And
that's
now,
fucking beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I hope that we held on to that. Actually, I had a bit of depression there. The cool thing about Letterboxd is like now I don't have to make like a Google document or a Google sheet. I can just search stuff, and it's so much quicker. And it took me about a week, a little bit less than a week, but I was able to catalog what I believe to be a very accurate list of what I have seen in terms of film. There's some TV stuff on there, but most of that's not. But film wise, I'm very much enjoying this.
I'm also liking because confession time here. I remember back around 2010, 2011, I tried to get into doing reviews on IMDb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And quickly lost interest in that. And I had toyed around with because I wanting to write out reviews of films that I've seen, and I feel like Letterboxd kind of helped me scratch that itch because it's nice to get my thoughts out right after viewing it, but still kind of organize them in a way. So some of my reviews are like a paragraph, and others I think like Days of Future Past is 10 paragraphs or something like that. So
no, you stop that. You stop that. But segue. Sal posted his X-Men ranking, and he put X-Men 1. He put X-Men 1 as better than Days of Future Past. Discuss.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, if it was better, it'd be on top.
Well, you didn't watch the Rogue. No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't. You're right. I need to do it.
It's true. You're missing key context.
I saw the Rogue because she was at the end. She was like, "Hey, I'm Rogue."
Oh, yeah, shit.
Fine. Yeah, spoil it. I'm going through X-Men again because my husband has never seen really any of them other than maybe Deadpool.
Oh, wow.
Maybe the first one like forever ago. So we've been in preparation for Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of like going back through it.
Nice.
And so it's been nice for me to revisit the movies. But I think my problem with Days of Future Past is I feel like the future stuff is like kind of non-consequential and sort of like an afterthought for most of the movie, and I don't. And I feel like some of it's a bit shock value-y for the sake of it.
I completely disagree, but I can understand why you would say that. I think to me, like, the future stuff adds a lot of stakes and emotion, because if we just watch the plot that we have from the past, we would be like, okay, yeah, I mean, like, the Sentinels are bad, I guess, but like, I just heard that the future's bad.
I just think I wanted the future stuff to be better than it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
In that regards, you should absolutely watch the Rogue Cut, because now I'm really curious what you would think.
Right.
Because that's like one of the big plot points of that. More shit with the future.
Okay. I also, there's some other stuff where it's like we have some new mutants. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
I gotta watch that still.
Wait, no, you watched it, didn't you?
But for this,
in your watch through, in the watch through.
So, but there's some new characters who it's funny. I'm watching it and I'm like, I know that's Bishop. They never say his name.
Yeah. That's like every X-Men movie, though.
No.
I feel like every X-Men movie has characters where they aren't really like too developed, and they're there to add to the world.
But I feel
also, I just watched it, and I will say they do say his name at least once.
Do they? I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Yeah, when Kitty is very quickly summarizing how they've been surviving, she's like, "I send Bishop's mind back in time."
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the page.
But I mean, I couldn't remember. If you asked me to name the other mutants that are in that crew, Mr. Far-Seeing Man and Portal Girl, I couldn't.
Yeah, there's Portal Girl, and there's the other guy.
Yeah,
the Human Torch.
There's Human Torch.
I'm not advocating that Days of Future Past side characters are as good as some of the other movies. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that.
It's like, I don't know.
It's something that I kind of accept, I guess.
I guess I just wanted a bit more of the future stuff.
I feel
Well, I wanted the movie to be like 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
but
that might be it too.
I'm
gonna mute myself real quick.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was an interesting take. I am glad that First Class is so high, because I do believe it is one of the best. I think if I was to pick a favorite, it would be First Class and Logan, and then probably Days of Future Past would be up there for me though. But Logan and First Class are probably my favorites of those respective Because there's like the Wolverine trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the OG. Well, sorry, the prequel quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Because I got to count Dark Phoenix, unfortunately.
I will say that that's kind of one of the interesting things, because rather than just go through the movies in order of release and, you know, ending it on New Mutants before Deadpool and Wolverine, I decided that the way I'm going to do it is the OG trilogy, the prequel quadrilogy, throw in Mutants after that, because who gives a shit, and then the Wolverine trilogy, and then Deadpool. But watching Days of Future Past, it's funny to watch it without having the Wolverine as a primer,
right?
You know, because like, you know, Joe, you advocate for this quite a bit, but the legwork that movie does to make The Last Stand good is,
oh my God,
is very impressive.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's insane. Like, I do agree with you, Sal, that The Wolverine is probably the most underrated X-Men movie, because
100%.
the amount of work it does to fix The Last Stand is inhuman. No pun intended.
Because, like, you know, they spoilers. They killed Jean Grey. Like, they actually killed people in The Last Stand. Which, like, when you look at superhero movies now, it's like, oh my God, you actually like killed characters.
Robert Downey Jr. is in talks to come back as Iron Man.
See, have I told? I don't want to go on another rabbit hole, but I have a conspiracy theory that Disney attempted to sabotage his career so that he would be forced to come back.
Yeah. There is
the first movie he did after Infinity War was Doolittle.
Goated, so good.
And then he did nothing until Oppenheimer, so it's like,
Goated, so good.
Oppenheimer is pretty goated.
I see this as an absolute win. You know,
it's okay. It's okay to be scared. That needs to be one of the sounds I add. It's okay to be scared.
No, I think legitimately it's a good movie. It's not even a meme. I actually think it's really fun.
Doolittle?
Yeah.
I think if I rewatched it, but I do remember something about, isn't there like a dragon's ass or something?
Yes. I don't remember.
Yes, there is.
Okay. It's like I mix the scene from Doolittle and The Witcher season 1 in my mind.
Oh.
That dragon scene, like, it kind of mixes together a little bit. Anyway.
To wrap, well, I don't know if we're wrapping up. It sounds like we're pretty freeform, but one thing I wanted to add on about Days of Future Past, and I don't know how you lads feel about
it's
this.
actually pretty good.
Well, I want to point out, I don't know if either of you read my wonderful Letterboxd review.
I did.
Of course I didn't.
I liked it. Do you think I just like your reviews without reading them?
Yeah. No.
Maybe.
I love it. But for me, one of the big weak points of it, and the prequel quadrilogy as a whole.
Your review right now. Hold on.
He's trying to cross-verify. Go ahead.
So you know, the OG trilogy decided to put all its money on Wolverine and kind of go a little more focused on him than everyone else, less of an ensemble cast. And the First Class quadrilogy kind of ends up doing the same thing with Mystique. That was a mistake.
They kind of do, but I think Charles Xavier is the real central character of.
Well, what's so interesting about Days of Future Past is how Mystique is almost not in a lot of the movie, because we're not like with her. We're like trying to catch up to her the whole time.
She's barely in the movie.
It's really interesting.
She's barely in it. You know, it's. It
is, but then you have the follow up with Apocalypse. And,
that's
there. And,
yeah.
Doesn't Apocalypse hit women?
Not enough. Gender equality.
Remember the controversy from 13 years ago? Anyway.
Do I?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting old.
But Dark Phoenix, it's so weird how Dark Phoenix, they made her very unlikable, which was very odd because in First Class, she's like the bright-eyed innocent one. And then in Days of Future Past, it's like the morality of Mystique will determine the future, which I thought worked well. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting how like almost that moment is what makes like Because, whenever you're watching First Class, you're like, oh, how does Mystique go from this
Yeah.
to what I see her in X-Men?
Yeah.
And then Days of Future Past is the fun thing of like, well, you see, this is the moment where like she could go either way.
Yeah. And Apocalypse then tries to make her like this like martyr centerpiece for the mutant cause, which, you can argue if that works, doesn't really work. And then in Dark Phoenix, they just make her horrible. And it's like, this is such a weird... Because I thought the whole point of like the First Class quadrilogy was that we improved the future because we made Mystique a better person.
Yeah.
Or that's at least a building block to like help make the future better. And then they kind of derail that in Dark Phoenix because again, there's this weird thing with the X-Men movies where, okay, so originally this is pretty much fact. First Class was a reboot. That is like they decided, okay, Last Stand, we got an X-Men Origins Wolverine, we got to reboot this. This is not tenable. Yeah. And then everyone loved First Class so much, and they were like, well, the Days of Future Past storyline would be really cool to do, but we don't want to make it an alternate timeline because that'd be dumb. So it's just the past. And that creates a whole host of continuity errors. And then in Dark Phoenix, it's weird. They almost seem to be like, in a weird way, trying to course correct, but also do stuff early. It's very weird. Apocalypse kind of is the same thing where we're going to set you up for the beginning of the OG trilogy. And then you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then Dark Phoenix appears and derails everything. It's weird.
Yeah. Again, my main point is Jennifer Lawrence is overrated, and she doesn't have the charisma or the talent to portray Mystique in a way that makes me give a shit. So
you need to watch Passengers. Not really. I don't know.
Oh, fucking Passenger.
That'll win you over.
That's the J-Law movie we pick.
No, never mind. It's just...
Well, I mean, I was expecting Mother, which
man,
yeah, she's good in Mother.
Like, yeah. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's fucking Darren Aronofsky. If he can't get a good performance out of her, I don't know.
And then he broke up with her.
Denny
after.
Villeneuve can also probably do a good job.
He probably could.
He can make anyone good.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Well, he prioritizes working with talented actors as well.
That helps
so
too. One thing interesting about Days of Future Past for me is that I also just watched through X-Men 97.
Right.
Which I had seen. I watched it without knowing anything about the OG 90 whatever animated series. But I was, I read things where I was like, it's okay, you can just jump onto this one, it's fine. So I did. And it definitely... It's really interesting. Have either of you watched it?
No.
It's interesting. So I feel like it starts off really fucking strong.
Yeah.
Because Magneto is just incredible. Like,
yes.
Such a good characterization of Magneto. The whole plot of the show is basically like Charles Xavier died at some point, got assassinated. And so he left the X-Men to Magneto. And it's him trying to be a better person for his old lover, Charles. I'm just gonna say what I mean. And so it's Magneto trying to lead the X-Men and be a good person. And until other things happen. And I feel like it hits a point in the show where like the plot is almost moving too fast. And we are just like skipping to like the outlines, the bullet points on the outline. Mm-hmm. And we're not quite building to things as well as I think they should have been building to them.
Damn.
Interesting.
It's all well animated. It's all well acted. It looks great. It was fun to watch. But definitely I felt like I watched... It's 10 episodes. I felt like the plot of a 30 episode season done in 10.
It's the opposite problem of too much filler. There should have been more stuff spaced out. Yeah.
Which segue. Thank you, Josiah. You're wonderful. We should make a segue sound effect.
We should.
But for now, all we have is. That was great.
There we go.
So this is gonna be a weird start to this, but I am segueing. So they've announced a new Game of Thrones show. that is apparently actually happening this time. I know there's a lot of them
Right.
that announced and then they're like,
A couple got straight up dropped.
Yeah.
I know that.
I know there's one they shot a pilot and they were like, yeesh.
Yeah,
Oh,
Blood
man.
Moon. A Blood Moon. I know the secrets as to why they canceled it.
Why?
Do you want to know?
We can do
this
a quick aside, sure.
This is legit. So, Blood Moon
This is
had
legit.
this. Blood Moon had this thing where it was going to show the origins of the Long Night and the White Walkers' first invasion, and it was going to have all these legendary characters like that are mentioned in the books, like Land the Clever, and kind of compress the timeline in a way that doesn't really make sense, but you have to kind of do it for a show.
I love Foundation. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. And the main reason they canceled it was partially because it was bad, but partially because the plot involved these characters, and so there was some diversity in the cast, and so there was all these natives to Westeros who were black, and what the show was going to do was have them get cursed and become the little children in the forest elf people, and somebody realized that was probably a bad idea. Diversity didn't work out in this case.
Shit.
Yeah, so they kind of realized, and that's at least a reason, but it got scrapped.
So they didn't.
That's a
So
yikes.
they didn't quite learn, or they learned what the issue with Rings of Power, where people are like, why is it so different in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings? And it's like, oh shit. Well.
Yeah. Anyway, that's I just wanted to put that out there. Yikes.
I feel like
I
feel like definitely I understand the desire to put in a more diverse cast and something done today to more reflect the modern landscape of things.
Sure.
I'm currently watching. Don't hate me. Sorry, I don't hate me. I'm currently watching through Bridgerton.
I thought you were gonna say The Acolyte.
No,
Yeah, me too.
no, I'd rather watch Bridgerton. Are you kidding me? And I actually like it a lot. It's fun. It's fun. Smut drama. It's great. But it's an historical. It's based on like historical events, but they've changed characters to be like different races.
Sure.
And another creator was like, listen, whatever, right? It's about sex. Who cares? But what I like how they do in that show and in House of the Dragon is we're gonna take a setting that is predominantly a white setting, but like this family is black, right? So we have characters, so we can give roles to like black actors who definitely deserve them, and have a more color that more reflects what the audience is, but in a way that makes sense, right? Like
I do think that the Valarians in House of the Dragon was a bit weird, but it's just because they're supposed to be. It doesn't matter. They're not going to explain the genetic stuff, so you're right.
yeah, and what's great about that is that like okay, the Valarians are black, and that's cool. This is great. This makes sense. So like this is this one house or this one family. So that's consistent and great. I think what annoys me about Rings of Power is that I don't mind the idea of characters in Tolkien being black or Indian or Asian or whatever. But I think for in depicting a culture that is predominantly not as nomadic as we are today, which is why we have such a diverse array of colors and people nowadays, due to like airplanes and boats and yada yada. If you're gonna have characters be black, they kind of have to be black, white, whatever, right? Like this is the McGruffs or whatever, and they're this color, and so people who are related to them are this color. Or like, hey, these elves are from here. Elves from here are black, whatever. Hey, we're going to Numenor, the island nation or whatever. They're black here, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, as long as it's consistent, I'm like, this makes sense. But it's the fact that in Rings of Power, it's not consistent. There wasn't like a meeting where they were like, hey, so in our world, dwarves from wherever are going to be black, right? So it's like, okay, if you see a black dwarf, they might be from here, right? You see a white dwarf, they might be from here. I think that what Rings of Power does wrong is that it's just like, there's no cohesion, there's no thought put into it other than let's cast whoever.
let's write
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
Let's do whatever.
Yeah, let's do whatever.
it's
Let's have them teleport to Moria
Yeah.
with no guards
Yeah.
or horses and wearing the same clothes as the last scene anyway.
I was having a conversation about Rings of Power, and I truly believe that is probably like the biggest fumble in like the history of entertainment, given what it costs to buy and produce. Like that is one of the biggest, like, just why didn't people care more?
It's incredible.
Like,
It's like
when they
crazy.
fired the person who cared. It was like, hey, I'm a Tolkien scholar, and they're like, get out of here, you nerd. It's like,
See, what's funny is that I've watched, I think, 3 or 4 episodes, and there obviously is care in there somewhere, right?
sure.
I think Bear McCreary does a good score. Bear McCreary? Bear.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I thought I was saying that wrong, or a different name. And also, I really enjoyed whenever they got to a new city. Like whoever did the visual effects, the cities look fantastic. But then you pay attention to the story, and you're like, what?
Or they have a parchment that's supposed to be handwritten, but it's clearly photoshopped. Like that is something that would never happen in a Peter Jackson production, even The Hobbit.
No, not even The Hobbit. Again, the thing that broke me in Rings of Power was, fucking Han Solo and Celebrimbor are talking. I'm sorry, I can't remember his character's name. He's Elrond.
Shit.
Elrond.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Elrond
yeah.
and Caleb, whatever, they're talking about needing to get ore from the dwarves, and Elrond's like, I got some dwarf buddies, and so then they go to Moria, and the next scene they just walk up to like the doors of Moria, and they're wearing the same clothes, and like there's no like travel bags, there's no horses, there's no like entourage of people to join like these like higher up elves. They just like walk up to Moria, like they're just there now.
Oh God.
And then and then Elrond's like, I got this, and then the other guy just like walks away,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wait, you walked with him the whole way,
Yeah.
and then you're like, go home, it's okay.
He's not even gonna get like a dinner and like a rest for the night.
Yeah, no, nothing. And he has no saddles, he has no bags. How'd he get there? What did he eat on the way?
That reminds me.
I couldn't do it.
To do my own tangent here, because for those of you that don't know, I am the Shuttlecast official scholar of the Spum Sea. I have watched all of the movies, including the most recent entry, Madam Web. Which oh God, let me point out 2 wonderful moments of not understanding travel time and consistency and all that shit. So for one thing, I don't remember any of the characters' names. Forgive me, Madam Web fans. But Madam Web, takes these girls away before they get killed, steals a taxi cab, right? Drives them away into the forest and is like, hey, I need to figure stuff out. You guys wait here. I'll be right back. And then leaves again. During this time, they wait for like an hour or 2, and then the girls decide to wander away into the woods until they find civilization. This is shown to take a lot of time. The area has gotten noticeably darker. Presumably, it's been at least another hour or 2 before they stumble out and find a diner. Madam Web gets back to the forest and finds out that they're gone. Has a vision that they get killed at the diner. And very briefly, like, looks through the forest, but then gets back in her car because she saw that they were in a diner, and starts driving around. And the song that they get killed to is playing on the car radio. And it's like, well, even if you're in a car, you're not going to get to the diner that it took them hours to get to before the song's over and they get killed. So that's one thing. The other thing is, she drives them around at least half of the movie still in this stolen taxi cab car, and it never causes them any issues. There's a point where she drops them off to stay in hiding with the future Uncle Ben. And she's like, hey, you guys wait here. I need to go down to Peru. Because I need to figure out plot stuff. This is true. So she goes down to Peru, comes back. How does she go to and from? When she comes back to pick them up, she's still in the fucking stolen taxi cab.
Oh my goodness. That's
so
really
you're
good.
telling me she was able to keep this stolen for like a week without issue?
That's amazing, the lack of like forethought.
I mean, that's what happens when you have like 17 different movies that you've shoehorned in together.
Yeah, what is this, Blade?
And it's like, hey, it's under 2 hours. We have a movie now, right? It's like, oh.
The movie does start and it does end.
That's right.
That's all we need.
We showed the title, you know. So, looking forward to Craven.
What a tangled web we weave.
Fucking, that actually scared me.
That was great.
I had like,
That was great.
I like depressively like zoned out for like half a second as like the mania tried to take over, and then the badum tisk got me out of it. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, I'm just trying to help you out there.
So anyway, they announced a new Game of Thrones show.
Oh right.
Yes.
Yes. Shit.
Doctor Strange going back into his body. So they're adapting A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, not to be confused with the episode from season 8, but the book. I didn't know we had that.
Now they have a book to adapt that is shorter than Game of Thrones.
Yes, so here's some things that we know, and then I have some things I want to talk about. This is a launching point. So the idea with, I'm not sure what they're going to call it. Maybe Duncan Egg is too silly. They'll probably just call it A Night of the Seven Kingdoms or whatever.
Probably.
I believe that's the title they've settled on, yeah.
Boo. But, so the idea is that they're going to switch off years with House of the Dragon, which I think makes sense. I think a show the level of production as House of the Dragon should not be a yearly endeavor.
No, it's every 2 years. They've confirmed it.
Yeah, so then on the off years, we get Duncan Egg. I'm going to call it Duncan Egg because
Yeah.
fuck you, Warner Brothers.
Because we know the truth.
Discovery, David Zaslav, suck my fucking
We thought
ass.
it sounded like a basketball show if we called it Duncan Egg.
Oh man.
So, Duncan Egg, for those who don't know, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is 3 novellas that George R. R. Martin has written, set about 100 years before A Game of Thrones. Remember Walder Frey, that asshole who does the bad things at the Red Wedding? Trying not to be too specific, because some people still haven't watched it, which, you know, bless your heart. He's like a baby in like one of the stories. Like that's how
Perfect.
it's like that's how far away it is.
Yeah.
And it's basically the story that is like House of the Dragon is based on the history book Fire and Blood, which is a part 1 of 2. And this story basically what it happens between parts 1 and 2, because these novellas are supposed to tie that time span, whatever. So they're adapting 3 novellas into a show. And Joe, as you mentioned, the book is shorter than A Game of Thrones. The book A Game of Thrones.
Now, to be fair, we could say that A Game of Thrones probably could have used 20 episodes rather than 10.
Yeah.
In season 1. Like, it could have gone like 20 episodes probably. But even that being said, like, I think that this is a mistake. I think what they should have done was adapt each 3, do the off-year thing, but adapt all 3 into a film.
That's a good idea.
Make like a 3-hour film and just release that on the off years, because
like spend the money you would spend on
right
a season into a movie.
But guys, we gotta get people subscribed to Max, and if it comes out weekly, then they'll have to keep their subscription going.
No.
So what I've heard that they're doing for this first season, it's at 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I feel like, a mistake, because you should do one of 3 things. The first one is don't fucking do it. We've already passed that. Whatever. The second thing is Joe's idea. That'd be cool. Movies. Like, give me a 3-hour Game of Thrones movie.
Yeah, each novella is a very nice, tight 3-act structure. You could even fit it into like a little over 2 hours, honestly.
Yeah, I
each
think
story.
so, because the thing I think about when I think about movie adaptations of books, I think about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Give me half a second to Google this real quick. Harry Potter. 'Cause I haven't done this in a minute.
And the philosophers.
And the Philosopher's Stone. So when people talk about books, they talk about the page number. That's kind of stupid in my opinion. That's because I'm an author. I look at word count, because word count
Yes.
is an unmovable statistic that does not, because page count could depend on the fonts, the size, yada yada. So Philosopher's Stone is 77,000 words roughly at 310 pages, right?
Right.
And the movie Sorcerer's Stone is pretty accurate to the book.
Yeah.
Like, they cut a couple things, they cut P, they cut the opening, but like for the most part, it's like a pretty solid, like almost one for one adaptation. And people listening to this on the podcast are hearing my Opera GX plugin where when I type on the keyboard it clicky clacks. And I'm sorry about that. And so the movie's 2.5 hours. So you think about 77,000 words, 2.5 hours. Let's say if they did everything, it'd be 3 hours, right?
Sure.
So like, you could probably do Dunk and Egg. Every story is like a 2 hour, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less movie.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty fucking solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would also like, what I wanted to talk about, was, do you guys remember when American shows would have TV show episodes that were like, or seasons that were like 20 episodes long, 24 episodes?
Usually cable ones. Yeah. Yeah.
You remember back when that happened, when like a TV show had like time to breathe, and
Yes.
some episodes were like, hey, we're just doing a fun thing this episode. I really, really, really fucking miss this. And I think that if you're going to do Dunk and Egg as a show, this should be your modern day Xena. You should like
Right.
be made,
Or the Incredible Hulk show where he goes town to town and
Yeah.
solves different problems. You know.
like, this should be an episodic whatever of the week thing. Like, maybe the first episode is obvious, or the first couple episodes are obviously the first story. But then after that, you should just have some writers in there who are like passionate about A Song of Ice and Fire, who are making up fun new adventures for Dunk and Egg to go on. That aren't like, you know, Dunk and Egg go on some pretty heavy adventures, like stopping a fucking rebellion and stuff. But you should give them fun things to do that are like maybe not as high budget as House of the Dragon episodes. You know, we don't have dragons showing up. We don't have all these big epic things. But sometimes maybe an episode should be Dunk and Egg going to a village, and there's a problem with like the village elder or whatever, or like yada yada, and it's like 45 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
I think that a thing that I've been thinking about recently about like TV shows that have a lot of episodes, or shows that have like maybe what you could call filler, right? Or shows that have like an A plot and then like a monster of the week plot, is that in a book, when you're reading it, you're with these characters for hours as you're reading it.
Yeah.
You really have the time to be in their heads, to be with them, so you connect with them. But in a TV show, that same story, like as we kind of been talking about, I'm sure the first Dunk and Egg story is going to be the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
It's not as much
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So filler gives you time to be with these characters longer, so there's more of a connection to these characters. And also, you don't want to fucking catch up to George. I mean, they're going to catch up very fucking fast, but like,
I mean, I remember when he was like, "Yeah, I'll have it done by like the end. I'll have Wins done by the end of season 6." Woof.
poor fucker.
Yeah.
But I
man.
think that having a Game of Thrones show that is more of a lower budget, a lighter tone, more adventurous, I think would bring in a different audience, because you already have the Game of Thrones political drama, family drama, dragons audience with House of the Dragon.
But they're gonna try to graft that on to Duncan, because the thing about the Dunk and Egg books that I love is that it is a bit more lighthearted, but you know that over the course of like 12 novellas it was going to get darker until you get to the the fire at Summerhall. But you have Bloodraven show up in like book 2 or 3 and of Dunk and Egg, and he's the darkest thing there, and he's kind of doing machinations, but it's not really the focus yet. It's going to take a lot more time before we get there, but they're going to artificially try to graft this stuff on at the start and have all this extra political stuff that is going to distract from the story.
This is why The Witcher show sucks all the way through. Can I go up with The Witcher for a minute? Is this a safe?
Please do.
Is this a safe space? I don't want them to Witcher this. Now, The Witcher books and I have a rough relationship. Same with Nathan. We have a rough relationship with The Witcher books. But I think at the end of the day, I appreciate a lot of what it's trying to do. And I don't appreciate some stuff it's trying to do. But those first 2 books are very solid.
Aren't those the short story ones?
Yes. So the first 2 Witcher books are just Geralt goes on an adventure today. And they're a lot of fun. They're really fun. They're probably the best parts of reading the books is those first 2, where it's like Geralt has to go to a town and there's a mermaid and the king wants to romance the mermaid and she's like, well, he has to become a fish if he wants to, or a merman to be with me. And then so the king's like, fuck you didn't help me out with my mermaid problem. And Dandelion's right, like, I'm gonna write a ballad about how that worked out fine if she gave up her fins for legs, because the Witcher books are all jokes on like fairy tales. But yeah, the first 2 books are just straight up like adventures, and then eventually Geralt's like, fuck, I have to deal with politics. I hate politics. Fine, I guess so. And then the whole big Ciri plot happens in book 3. And so you watch the show and we open up with the opening of book 3. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Why are we Game of Thronesing The Witcher? So I'm really nervous that Duncan Egg will be Game of Thrones as well.
I mean, I was thinking of watching House of the Dragon season 2, but I'm putting it off. I think when I ended season 1, I was like, I'm willing to like see how this develops and come to it later. But if the season gets like rave reviews, I might.
I know episode 2's out. I haven't watched it yet because my husband's away and I don't want to watch it without him. But I watched episode 1 and it was pretty good. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
People dislike their adaptation of Blood and Cheese, but I thought it was good. It's not quite the same as the books, but at the same time, those books are like hearsay, secondhand gossip from like chambermaids. The book.
Yeah.
So, and also it's a show, and it's like, okay, you're gonna have like people don't think about the logistics of this shit. Like, okay, so spoilers for Blood and Cheese and House of the Dragon, right? So in the books, the whole thing is these assassins are going into the castle to kill the one prince who killed the other prince. I forget their names because they're fucking made up fucking Valerian names. And they find other princes, and they decide to kill one of them, and they have the queen choose, and then they choose the other, then they kill the other one. It's a very like very traumatizing scene. It's very well done in the book, obviously. In the show, they cut one of those kids out, and so whenever it happens, she picks, and then off screen, like you have the sounds of him like shaving the kid's head off his fucking neck as she's like gathering her daughter and like getting out of there. And I think that also works because the sound design is really good. They don't actually show the kid getting killed, obviously, thank God. But it's very like it's very unsettling. It's not quite the books. But it's still, I think it's still good. And
they've already gone so far different in several aspects. It's
yeah. But I think people were like wanting that scene from the book, and I'm like, could you imagine the kids on set having to like deal with that? And filming that, like think for a second. Like it's okay in a book for George to say, "Oh, these murderers stood there with these awake children, and had the mother choose which one to kill and kill the other one. Made fun of the other kid for being chosen to be the one to be killed, and your mom doesn't love you." And you know what's easier and not traumatizing the child actors? What they did.
Well,
and
I mean,
works,
you're assuming they would do the effects. But I understand you're talking about like the content.
Yeah, if we're adapting it as the books have it, which what has made people upset. I feel like that is not very tenable and also very graphic. I think what we got was graphic. You know what I mean?
You know, it's people. Sometimes, you know, I think it is better to hold off showing the sheer brutality of things.
Yeah, I think it still works. Like, I think again, the sound design does a lot of work in, like, the horror of it. Like, I don't know, they got the most, like, serrated knife on the planet and cut the juiciest bit of steak in the sound booth and just went to fucking town on it. I think it works. I don't know. I think there's some fake outrage, but it's okay.
I do feel like shows like Game of Thrones and, you know, imitators, they like, and really just media in general has just elevated the level of violence that we like showing. But, you know, like looking back on older stuff, there's an actual art form to how you cut away from violence, you know, in such a way where it's not just like, oh, well, they can't show it. It's like, no, it's because, like, you know, killing someone or brutalizing someone, like, that's such a dark part of humanity that like letting your audience know that it's there but not just, you know, front loading it adds to, like, the atmosphere. It adds to the impact. I think. Right.
Yeah. If you just assault people with brutality, it becomes nothing. You know, it becomes senseless. It doesn't really have as much of an effect, which is something the later seasons of Game of Thrones ran into, is that there's a point where it's just like, okay, like, I understand. Like,
yeah. It's kind of with the boys a bit where I'm like, all right, I get it. You're edgy.
That is funny you mention that, because I know I watched the first 2 seasons and I haven't watched season 3 or 4, but I did watch a scene from season 4 and I was just kind of watched it and I just felt gross. Like I didn't like feel like I watched a really, like, obviously, like, the acting was good, like, it was filmed well, but I just kind of was like, yeah, this is kind of why I don't really want to watch the show anymore, because it's just kind of being depraved for depravity's sake. Like, it's just like
that's how I felt watching season 3.
Yeah, season 4. I don't even really want to talk about the scene if you haven't watched it, because
I'm not. I'm actually in the middle of Gen V right now.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, there's a scene in season 4 where it's Homelander getting revenge on someone, and it's just like, and they do, and he's such a great character. Like, they do such a good job. But again, it's just like the scenes that I remember in season 1 of Homelander are when he threatens someone or he implies he's going to make them do something.
The bit when he, like, is outside of the van talking to Frenchie, looking for translucent, is so much better than the blood and gore.
Yeah. What about when he's jerking off and saying he can do whatever he wants?
That's just funny.
You know, that is what it is. But they call back to that scene in the scene I'm talking about, and it's
really?
Yeah, it's not funny anymore. It's
I can't wait to get there.
Well, you know, but I think that's a show where, you know, I definitely was like, yeah, I've had enough.
Also, the thing about it too is, like, you're probably watching this while eating dinner, right? Like, you're sitting down, you got your food, you know, and you're like, all right, time to watch The Boys, time to watch House of the Dragon, and then, you know, they're like killing kids, and it's like, hey, yo, I'm trying to get my fucking KFC.
Yeah, that's, you know, moments like that are where it's like, well, maybe I should read the comics, or I need to pick up.
No. The Boys comics is probably worse, actually.
It fucking sucks.
Oh man,
it's a piece of shit.
See, I've heard it all over the place. I've heard like the show does it better. I've heard that the comics are better. I've heard that, you know, they're both not good.
I feel like the comics are more enjoyable if you were like 14, 15.
The show is better if that's enough to. If you don't like the show, I don't think you're gonna like the comics. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Sure. If the depravity of the show is like too much, then the comics are way too much.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Read the wiki.
You know, it's kind of like Men in Black, where the comic is like bad, but it's just there to generate a franchise.
Yeah, I think for me, the reason why I think I really enjoy when things that are adapted from a thing that's kind of imperfect. Case in point, like The Witcher, right? Sorry to bring it back, but like I was excited for an adaptation of that because sometimes you hear so and dying, such and stuff is being adapted. Oh no! But sometimes I'm like, oh cool, let's see if this is gonna get a good run. And stuff like The Boys, The Witcher is like, oh please adapt it and make it good. Case in point, The Wheel of Time. Books that Nathan and I despise, but knew had like a nugget of goodness in them somewhere that was buried down by bullshit. And then the show,
there are ideas.
Then the show was like, let's cut all the bad stuff. And it's like, oh, real shit, dick hard. Let's go. Like, let's cut all the fucking dumb town politics and fucking Ewan Fingar. Let's just fucking get out of here.
Yeah, let's listen. There's 15 books in this series. We're not doing 15 seasons.
Season 2 is like, hey, the third book? What if we just did that plot line or that character arc now? Why wait?
Yeah.
Why wait?
It's like, come on.
So like
stories are supposed to move forward.
Yeah. Oh my god. So I really enjoy when stuff will adapt a bad thing, because you can take that and go, I see what they were like. The Boys, right? The Boys is like, okay, we're deconstructing superheroes. Let's take that and make a show out of it. Let's improve on that and make it better, right? And then we get the show, which is like, okay, this is what the comics kind of tried to do, but this is way better and way less vulgar and with way less N-words being dropped.
I just think it's just the comic hates superheroes. Like the goal is to be mean-spirited, whereas the show is it is somewhat mean-spirited, but it's more satirical than mean-spirited. The objective is different.
Dawn of the Seven, the director's cut edition.
Exactly.
Shit's hilarious. VOP Plus. Bless. But all right. So anyway, what do you guys think about a return though to shows being 15, 18, 20, 24 episodes as opposed to the modern 8 to 10 maybe?
It's funny because in the past I've definitely been someone, and I feel like Nathan has said something similar where we were on the stance of a 13 episode season is perfect. Like that's a perfect amount of
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's more than 10, but it's not 20 because sometimes you have shows like Smallville. I'm sure those seasons would benefit from being 13, 14 episodes as opposed to 26.
Yeah.
Because but it's I do agree with you, there's a lost art, and I do think it comes a lot from a lot of that comes from episodic to lightly episodic, where if you have a lightly episodic show, say like I know everybody references it, so I apologize, but I think Buffy, like that gives you like those big plot episodes, but you never know when those are going to come, so there's actually like it's not as predictable in some aspects. Like, the finale is going to be important to the season, but you don't know when the plot relevant stuff's going to happen. So you watch to grow with the characters, and then when the big stuff happens, you're not sure when. Whereas nowadays, I feel like it's much more predictable. Like, the Game of Thrones, those seasons became more structurally predictable. So I do think there's like a middle ground. There's room for a middle ground. I think it kind of depends on the kind of story you want to tell. And Dunk and Egg definitely fits more of the Xena, Hercules, Smallville, Incredible Hulk, that kind of storyline. Whereas Game of Thrones being so intricate as a story, you had to have like more serialized fiction.
I think it's case dependent, and also for me, I'm actually kind of used to still watching shows that have gigantic seasons, mainly because I watch.
Well, you're Kamen Rider and stuff.
I watch Japanese shows where it's like, hey, this season of Kamen Rider, 50 episodes and 3 movies. Fucking get Ben.
Yeah, I think I feel like what happened as far as like American TV, it really is the rise of that streaming series phenomenon that we're loving, because nowadays I think that because like those long, 25 to 30 episode season shows, they still exist. It's cable TV, but it's like it's the scraps. It's The Rookie or NCIS. It's those ones where it's like,
actually,
okay,
yeah. Now that you mention it,
where it's like it is a network picking up a series and saying, hey, we want this many episodes, whereas like series that arguably are more focused on telling a story get picked up by a streaming service, and they're like, hey, we'll give you X amount of money to make a season, and so a showrunner will be like, well, I want it to look good, so it's going to be 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episodes.
Oh my God, so, Nathan, you've debunked my claim. Yeah, The Rookie is like 20 episodes, 14, 22.
And it's on like season 7.
22. Yeah, so I guess it's just like, I guess the shows I would like to see as, I guess that's what I'm missing is like I want a modern day Xena or Buffy or Hercules or Angel or whatever. Babylon 5. Oh my God, please.
That's another one where there's some episodes and they feel like they're one-offs, but then they're hugely important.
I think what's so great about Babylon 5, just for a moment, is the fact that the first 2.5 seasons are episodic problem of the week until the underlying problem gets so huge that we're like, okay, the rest of the show is now about this.
Yeah. The war is happening.
Yeah. Hey, the war happened. I don't care about some fucking trade dispute between 2 random alien races. We're getting bombed. There's a fucking blockade now because we sided with the wrong people.
And of course, DS9 does the same thing, where you get a few. Well, you get a few seasons in, and then we do have those occasional episodes where it's like, let's go on the holodeck because I'm gonna die of stress because of the war. 50,000 people just died.
Yeah.
But normally it's
and that's what I think I want from Dunk and Egg is like, as you said, we're building towards Summer Hall, right? So imagine like he spent all this time like. And maybe Duncan Egg shouldn't have 20 episodes. Maybe he should have like 13, right? Like, but whenever you get to Summer Hall, it's like, okay, well, like shit's happening now. Like we don't got time for adventures, Dunk. Like I'm the king now, bro.
Yeah, they're not wandering at that point.
I got that's because that's the fun of Duncan. That's the fun of Duncan Egg and The Witcher is that like it starts off like, hey, we're gonna have fun. And then eventually it's like, the state, the outcome of the kingdom relies on my decisions now.
Yeah.
So.
It would be nice.
I guess I have to go watch The Rookie.
There you go. It's funny.
No, what are you about to do?
To circle back a little bit, my apologies.
To what?
Back to X-Men. I forgot to mention, in addition to the films, I am also watching through the shows. So I'm on season 3 of Legion, and then I have to watch The Gifted, and I hope it's good.
Oh, I forgot that happened.
Yeah. I don't blame you. So Legion, I'm kind of running into that issue of how many episodes. Unfortunately, it is the regular issue of there's too many, which is funny because season 1 is 8 episodes, season 2 is 11 episodes, and I think season 3 is 8 episodes. So far, in my humble opinion, I think I am also the foremost viewer of Legion here. Season 1 was the best, and even that, I would say that probably could have been 6 episodes, but 8 isn't too much of a stretch. And it's for those of you that don't know, it's all about, is he crazy or does he actually have powers, or is it both? And it's like, well, I know this is based on the comics, so I know it's at least both. But the season 1 is really good, and it like delves into mental health and reality perception, delusion, and all of that. Very, very fucking solid. and then you kind of get the heroes fatigue, where like after season one, it's like, yes, he's self-actualized now. Like now it's time to go on.
Oh,
and season
God,
two
heroes.
has I woken something there.
Fuck.
But season two rolls around, and it's like it's all revolving around this one specific plot point of like, oh, this is about to happen. We need to prepare. And you get a couple episodes in. This is about to happen. We need to prepare. You get more episodes. We need to prepare. And it's like, okay, this
it's The Boys.
It's The Boys. It's The Walking Dead season 2. It's Heroes season 2. It's all these season 2s where it's like the characters reach actualization. It's like, nope, that's not the premise of the show. They gotta be delayed for at least another season.
Yeah.
You know?
So season 2, which is 11, I would say also could have been 6 episodes. And then it ends on a twist that has been called a character assassination, and I would be hard pressed to argue against it. And season 3 is committing to it, keeping it up.
All right.
So I'll let you know how it ends. At least Xavier's in season 3. Spoilers.
Oh, hey, there we go. Is it James McAvoy?
No. Oh, do you not know?
I know nothing.
It's our good friend Harry Lloyd. It's Viserys, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were watching something the other day, and Sean was like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Harry Lloyd." He's like, "Who?" And I'm like, season 1 of Game of Thrones, Viserys. Sean's like, "How
the great grandson of Charles Dickens?" Or
the 2-part Doctor Who episode about the family of blood.
You're right.
He has that weird half grin that he has the whole time.
Or Will Scarlet from the BBC's Robin Hood.
Yeah, that's fair.
Did you just do that to yourself?
I did.
That's
really funny.
That's how you own a joke, bro. Wait, what were we watching where I was like, that's Harry Lloyd? It was something crazy. I forget. Shit.
He's so good. Apparently, they wanted to get Patrick Stewart, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to do Legion." And then the writers were like, "What if we made it a time travel episode?" Instead, and it's like, "Oh, so you can't get him." It's like, "Oh, can we get James McAvoy?" He's busy.
I forgot. It wasn't a visual role. It was a vocal role. It was a very weird vocal role. He was a character in Arcane, which I watched recently.
Oh yeah, I heard
he is in Arcane. Yeah, he is in Arcane.
I didn't know there was a character where Sean's like, "Who's that voice actor?" And I was like, "Apparently Harry Lloyd."
He's so good.
Yeah. He's also in the Halo show.
Sorry.
Oh, poor fucker.
Someone, where's the
Charles Dickens? I'm so sorry.
You can always have a worst adaptation.
Listen, everything is good because the Halo show exists. Okay. Everything. You're above the water.
Why are movie studios and shows studios and all that, they're now competing to see who can tunnel through rock bottom? It's very sad.
And what's also very sad is how every studio that gets Halo after Bungie has said, let's exclusively hire people who fucking hate this series. Why?
This is so wild.
It's happened twice?
Yeah.
It's baffling.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like if we hire people that hate this series, they'll change it so that people who also hate the series will hate the series. But instead, you've just changed the series so people who like the series hate the series, and haven't brought people in who hate the series because they hate the series. You numbskulls.
Kind of weird. Yeah, it's a very odd.
I'm gonna put a feather in that cap. I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, let's move on, please.
I just got listen. I this V8 energy I'm drinking is not enough for Halo right now. So, I'm gonna have a small topic real quick before we launch into a bigger one. But let's talk about Smile.
I haven't seen it yet.
Smile 2, Josiah. Smile 2. So Smile 2 is the sequel to Smile, which if you've not seen Smile, go watch Smile. I know it's called Smile. Do not let that deceive you.
It it has the M. Night Shyamalan twist where it is actually good, you know?
Yeah, the twist is it's actually a good movie.
The best M. Night twist is the one where the movie's actually good.
Yeah, seriously.
Love it.
Yeah, so you think, it's Smile, the trailer's dumb, and then it's like a really fucking amazing horror movie.
Yeah.
So they're having a sequel, which at first, it's like, no, don't ruin a good thing. But then you hear the plot premise for Smile 2, which is it's a pop star. And it's like, okay. We've already securely leaped over the shark in like positive connotation.
Right.
Like, okay, let's have Smile, but on like a large scale. So Smile 1 had a fun marketing premise of people would go to like football games and stuff wearing a neon Smile shirt while smiling at all the football cameras.
Yeah.
Which is fun marketing. So for Smile 2, since it's about a pop star who gets the Smile virus,
right,
or possession, or they don't explain it, thank God, because why would you?
Oh yeah, that'd be dumb.
So what if a pop star gets it? And so they've made this a real pop star. She's on Spotify and everything. And the first not leaks, I should say, but the first like clips of the movie were from a in-universe fan of this pop star character's Twitter page.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
And I love the light ARG-ness of it. Of like,
I love this return of viral marketing. Yeah, shit like that.
So good. Yeah. It's so good. So I'm definitely going to be seated for Smile 2. We'll talk about it when it comes out because I'm very fucking excited for it. I don't know who the main girl is, but I know Lucas Gage is in it, who's a really good actor. He was in Dead Boy Detectives, which everybody did not see, which made me sad.
Oh, is it actually good?
It's so good. Yeah. What do you mean?
Oh shit. Well, I just casually, Netflix does the new thing now where as soon as you open it, it has like an ad for their show, and it's like,
and it's always some random scene in the middle where it's like, why the fuck are you showing this scene to me? It's like characters like drinking tea, and it's like, why the fuck am I watching this as your teaser? Because the algorithm said, we know you buy Lipton tea, so here's this scene of them drinking tea. You like this show, right?
We make shows that are catered to people who only want stuff on in the background. You'll love this, I swear.
But no, Dead Boy Detectives is really good. Yeah, aside, that's a show that I feel like did not find its audience because Netflix pops out 13 shows a day.
Yeah.
But it's actually, oddly enough, a return to kind of like the Buffy type show of like episodic. Like that's a show that could have like a 20 episode season that would not lose any quality. I feel like anyway. If anything, I think that would benefit because there's so many fun adventures to go on. The premise is basically these two boys are dead and they're detectives, and so they're solving like ghost mysteries. Like, hey, I can't rest because of whatever. Can you help me? Like that's kind of the plot. That's the premise, and it's really fun. It's cute, and it's got some good. It's really good. Yeah, I don't know how to really describe it, but it's like a night. It's Neil Gaiman, so it's good because it's Neil Gaiman. But that's a show where I feel like Netflix didn't bother trying to market it that well, and it sucks because shows nowadays get canceled so fast. Whereas, like, if you let a show, it takes time to find its audience. Like, Game of Thrones was not Game of Thrones in season 1. I know because I was there.
Yeah.
I watched episode 1 opening night on HBO when it came out. I've seen this through the entire way. It was not the juggernaut on release. It was good. People liked it. But it was not the global phenomenon. It took about season 3 or 4 for that to happen.
Yeah.
And you need that. You need it to build legs. You need to build a backlog. Because a lot of shows will happen and you're like, oh, what's this show? It's on season 3? What? And then you binge 1 and 2 and then you're like, oh shit, I'm hyped for 3 now. Or I'm hyped for 4 now. And like shows need time to develop that audience. And I feel like Netflix is so analytics based that they see, the numbers weren't good enough. Kill it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, and they also a peek behind the curtain for one of my favorite Netflix shows that got axed, Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah.
Some shows, they're like, hey, we're going to give you 3 seasons, and it's like, oh great, that's cool. And so they do season 1, and then season 2 it starts to pick up, season 3, and it's like, oh yeah, we've got a huge audience, like we could keep going. And Netflix is like, no, we said 3 seasons. And it's like,
oh no,
this gets decent views. Like,
oh my
people
God.
are talking about this, like the cast all enjoys doing it. And it's like, no.
And then like they wonder why like they have to do these fucking gimmicks to get people to subscribe and stuff, and it's like, man, what are we
When the
doing?
day comes that, every single studio on the planet has its own streaming service and none of them want to share with Netflix, and it just has to stand on its own original content, that's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, because like you look at what's what's popular is that it's people rewatching shows
Yeah.
that are finished. Like people all the time. Like I saw this a lot when Dead Boy Detectives came out. People would say, "Oh, sorry, my Adobe wants to update. I apologize." That's not you. It's me.
That's a funny thing for it to say, but I believe you.
Get sued, bitch. Anyway, what was I saying? Shit, that really fucked me.
Problem with Dead Boys. And,
Yeah, is that people would say,
wanting to rewatch shows.
This looks interesting. I'd love to watch this, but I don't want to get invested in the show to get canceled.
Yeah.
So now you have this problem where because they axe shows so quickly, nobody wants to jump onto a new show. Because even though I watched Dead Boy and I loved it a lot, I will admit it looks like a show that is very cancelable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is a show that is primed for getting canceled. This is a show that looks like it's not going to make it. Even though I watched it and I'm like, this is a fucking great show. Like, I love every episode. I love all the characters. I love the story being told. I want to see where it goes. It's like, I know my marketing brain screams this is not going to make it. And I know for other people that happens too. And so they don't want to watch a show because Netflix is so fucking trigger happy.
Yeah, well, and that's also my thing with like the MCU or with Star Wars or whatever, where it's like anytime there's a new entry, even if it looks good, I'm like, well, I know that this is just one cog in the machine, So it's like, what, I love. I'm not going to butcher the actor's name, but I'm going to say the actor that pitched the Blade movie. And
Mashallah, yeah.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
I was pretty close.
It's like I love that actor. I know he came up with the original idea for this Blade movie 5 years ago. That's now probably been chewed up and spit out and is unrecognizable. But it's like, even if it's good, it's like I know that it's just building up to Blade showing up in Avengers 7, and it's like, well, I don't care about that, and I know that I'm not gonna get like, even if it's like, okay, now it's time for Blade 2, it's like I know we're not building up to the end of a trilogy, we're not telling like a 3-act story of this character that's gonna end on 3, and
he was so good in the 4400, by the way.
I believe it.
Anyway. But yeah, I think Disney fumbled with their idea of their character-centric shows. Because I feel like
just a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's all right. I feel like in Another Reality they nailed this, where like the idea is that kind of like comics where people have their runs, right?
Yeah.
And this is my run of whoever. And then they team up for the big fuck you things, right? So in this age of streaming, it could be really fun to have like everyone just has their own shows, doing their own things, and other characters can show up, and it's like kind of like not a. It's a big deal. 'Cause it's like, whoa, hype, cool, but you don't really have to like watch their show to know why they're here.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like that is what they are doing now. Like as the phases go on, it's less and less important that you watch stuff.
And yet, I feel like when I do watch them, like I went to go see when it came out, Multiverse of Madness, and it really wanted you to know WandaVision and the third Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but I'd say that's not necessarily the norm. Like, you don't need to watch Eternals to
You should,
regardless
though.
well, I'm gonna watch the director's other work. I'm gonna watch Nomadland. It's on my list.
Yeah, watch the
because I feel like
and also the Diablo 4 opening cinematic.
oh, okay.
That's why it's so good.
Speaking of movies,
I will check it. Yeah.
There's another movie trailer that just came out either today or yesterday. That I checked out because I was intrigued.
Please say it. Please say it. Please say it. Please say it.
I'm very curious. It's A24's next project, Heretic.
Never mind.
Which is starring.
I didn't watch that yet. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's really good.
I almost did before this, and I was like, we're not gonna probably talk about that.
Oh no, we can talk about it. It's Hugh Grant. Curious how much he hates himself in this movie, but
That's the barometer, isn't it?
it is. He looks happy. I don't,
Okay.
But he just to go over the trailer. A couple of very nice, kind-looking Mormon missionaries show up at his door, and just want to spread the love of Jesus Christ to this old man with a house in the woods. And he's a very kindly, friendly guy. He's like, oh yeah, come on, man, we can talk. And I think
sold.
I was watching this on my phone while Katie had a show on, so I didn't fully get it, but it sounded like they said something like, oh, we can only come inside if another woman's in the house. And he's like, oh, my wife's in here, we're in the middle of baking a blueberry pie, like, come on in. They're like, oh yeah, sure. So they're sitting in the living room with him and just talking about it and talking about spirituality and stuff like that. And they kind of get to the end of their spiel, and it's like, oh, I think it's about time for us to go. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. Do you want a slice of the pie? Let me just go see if it's ready. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And he goes off. And then one of the girls goes over to the mantelpiece, and she sees that there's a candle there, and the candle is the scent of blueberry pie. And they're like, oh no, and it just immediately adds this atmosphere of oh, we've kind of been lied to this whole time. And if he lied about that, what else is he lying about? And then it kind of devolves into your standard A24 movie trailer where it's oh my God, there's a house that's a maze. And
and there's strings.
And there's strings, and there's things coming together that don't normally go together to form the title. And it's okay, all right. So, yeah.
Old.
Yeah. And I think I'm mostly intrigued by that just because it's Hugh Grant, and I love watching him.
Yeah, it's is
create art out of misery.
Is this a Wonka performance or a The Gentleman performance? It's which Hugh Grant do we have today?
Or is it a D&D where it's oh, you're so good, you're so funny. He's like, I hate myself. And I was oh shit, I'm sorry.
We failed that movie. I have to watch that after this. The trailer I thought you were going to talk about was the newest film from entrepreneur mogul Dwayne the Cock Johnson, Red One.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
This has been in development for a while. I didn't hear about Red One, starring Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, and J.K. Simmons.
Is that a prequel to Red 1 and 2?
Actually, I wish. No. This is Red One is a pseudonym. It's like Air Force One, but for Santa Claus. And
no.
J.K. Simmons is Santa Claus.
That's good.
And he's buff Santa Claus, too. And Dwayne Johnson is his Secret Service agent.
Oh.
And Santa Claus gets kidnapped. So he has to hire Chris Evans, the tracker, to help him find Santa Claus. And Dwayne Johnson, I think, has gone on record saying this is the start of a new franchise.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This is why he's too busy to not show up at SummerSlam this year? God damn it.
Dude, that's just because the actor strike was happening. He doesn't care anymore.
Speaking,
No,
He's on the
really,
board.
that was him being so mad about Black Adam that he needed to take his revenge out on Cody Rhodes. But
speaking of, I did want to bring up. I know you watched it, Nathan. But that Bo Dallas promo was really good, I thought.
Yeah, to quickly dip into wrestling news. Bo Dallas, brother of the late great Bray Wyatt,
Rest in peace.
has re-debuted on Raw with a new faction, the Wyatt Six, spelled SICKS, which is wonderful. But last night, yes, they delivered a VHS tape to Michael Cole, and they were able to hunt down a VHS player wherein Uncle Howdy had a sit-down interview with Bo Dallas about why he was doing this and if he felt like he was exploiting his brother's death and like very like.
oh, that's
very like emotional and like surprisingly like deep thing of like which I think is good. I think it's questions people are asking.
Yeah.
And,
For those who don't know, what wrestling is, basically, essentially, Bray Wyatt as a wrestler is he was a very creative wrestler. He was starting a new character and a new faction of people in wrestling, and then he sadly passed away. So it's been about half a year, maybe to a year. So his brother, who was originally part of the faction, is now sort of like taking over. And they're still kind of doing some parts of what they had planned, but obviously now in a new direction. So that's what Nathan means by this interview, where he's kind of being questioned as to whether or not he's respecting his brother's passing by continuing this creative endeavor, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that's at least something that that's something that the supernatural to explore that personal thing. I think that's the way you got to do it to keep people invested in this kind of a story. So
100%. I hope they do something like this with all of the members of the Wyatt Six and be like, what are you doing?
What are you doing here?
I want to hear Eric Rowan talk about Bray and Brody and be like, oh man, he got double legacy to carry here.
Give the best.
Do they have Eric Rowan in there?
They do.
Oh, cool. So I watch actual wrestling, not like TV. So.
Oh shit.
No, but that's cool though. I mean, Bray Wyatt was obviously the most interesting stuff in WWE for me. So I will be looking out for clips on Twitter.com.
Yeah, he's what got me into wrestling. So glad they're doing something.
Me too. Speaking of, so I have a topic I want to talk about. This might be the last of the Shuttlecast. Even though there's so much other stuff I want to talk about. Fuck, I have a whole list. I've barely gone through half of this.
That's gonna be the show, baby.
Shit.
Wyatt 6 was me doing 1 of 3.
Unless you and me continue after Joe leaves. But I want to talk about a topic that has been bugging me for a few weeks now. And I'm more than happy to be educated if I am just a fucking idiot. So, for those who don't know about wrestling, it's one of the only, fandoms that gives a single fuck about TV show ratings. Like, you don't hear, like, fans of like Walking Dead and Game of Thrones fans arguing about, like, TV show numbers and demographics and, like, the whatever hit number 1 on cable this week.
Sure.
But in wrestling, this is a very common argument I see. And unfortunately, I'm on Twitter. I work from home. So unfortunately, I'm looking at Twitter sometimes because maybe I'm like distracted for a moment and I'm my own boss, so I can't tell myself to stop. But, I'll see people argue about ratings, either for one cult or the other, right? Like for AEW or WWE, which are the two big wrestling promotions in America, arguing about who got more ratings, who got less ratings, who had a dip in the ratings, who had a dip in the demographic, who had a dip in this certain specific part of the ratings. And I used to care about this a bit. And I think as I've gotten older and thought about it more, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I think ratings are kind of stupid. And because I've been thinking about it, right? So what do TV show ratings really fucking matter? I was listening to this one sports thing. I forgot what it was, but it was like these two like sports like big CEOs or whatever talking about how when they were negotiating deals, TV ratings don't actually matter in the discussions. It's just a fun number to have that people think is important. And that's how I kind of feel, because to me, it's 2024. And I feel like cable is dying still. I think more people are moving to either they're DVRing it, they're watching it from other sources, or whatever. I know for me, like, I am an AEW fanboy. I love it. I do not watch anything live, ever. I watch it every week. I might watch it half an hour after its start time on the DVR to skip the commercials, or to skip a Chris Jericho segment, because I love myself.
Yeah.
Or, you know, to have two shows on, they have a show on Friday night and Saturday night. I'm fucking busy on Fridays and Saturdays. I'm watching that shit Monday morning. Sorry. I'm not. You want me to sit down at like random changing times to watch your live show? No. I don't watch anything live. Like, so, and that's why I DVR everything. And I think about ratings, and I think about like, oh, well, so-and-so had a bump in, like, they talk about this with Chris Jericho a lot. Like, Chris Jericho had a bump in the ratings. And I guess you guys can try to help me if you know the answer, or just agree with me blindly. But what does that fucking mean? Like, okay, let's hypothesize for a moment that in WWE, the Wyatt Six had a dip in the ratings. Does that mean that people are sitting there watching their cable, watching their Sling, Wyatt Six shows up, and they're switching to a new channel?
Yeah.
And then what? Then they're like hoping to God that they don't miss anything when they cut back? Like, they're just sitting there like, I'll give it 5 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's like how a lot of cable watchers will go.
That is, I think, to me, asinine. Like, I'd rather just be on my phone. I'd rather just like
they might be
get up and go, because like, if I don't like a segment, and Joe, you me did this once with Chris Jericho, where you're like, I don't want to fucking watch this guy, and we just turned off the TV for 10 minutes.
But that would count towards the drop in ratings, though.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that like, we were kind of gambling on if you know, what if that was like a 2-minute segment, and then we missed like half of a fucking, I don't know, Will Ospreay match. I'm like, oh shit, I missed peak.
Here's what I'll say, because I don't want to get like too in the weeds on it, because for reasons. But what I'll say is that you are right. Like, it would be dishonest intellectually to say that the entirety of an audience is measured up by the cable ratings. However, you know, when it comes to like a film going, let's talk about like examples. Like, a film goes into theaters, people do discuss box office. They do discuss like, oh, this was a flop because it just barely broke even, and then, you know, there's all these things people discuss, and of course we've seen that films have been given new life on home video or on streaming, and those can be measured less effectively. So obviously we know that audiences can be in different places, and, you know, there's for this topic, you can have the cable watchers, the streamers, and then the people buying tickets to see it live. And so you would say that, okay, it looks like the cable audience was less interested in this segment, right? The people watching cable. It's just a way to measure, but it cannot be said to be the only way to measure an audience, because there's multiple different so I, you know, personally, if we're talking about wrestling, again, I don't want to get too far into it, but I would say that live attendance is more an indicator than cable ratings, because cable ratings are down, but part of the idea of wrestling is that you have a live audience. So
yeah, I think it's a weird measurement to quantify either of the brands, either of the companies. I feel like if I see that, I don't know, SmackDown has an off week, I imagine that there's like probably extenuating factors, and then I'm like, why am I even thinking about this in the first place? Or like, if someone has a downward slope on the demo, I don't think, oh, people tuned out because they don't like that person. Because, I mean, you guys can attest to it too, right? Like, if everyone's cable setup is even like half as janky as watching on Sling, like, it's a fucking like Herculean effort to do anything on that motherfucker.
I will say that the way a lot of times ratings are calculated is by 15-minute chunks. So yeah, if it takes you longer than 15 minutes to come back, that could be the case. Yeah. But that's why the chunks are so big, because if someone, if they accidentally turn off their TV or they turn away for a couple minutes or something happens, that's why they're the 15-minute chunks. So that's usually why when people are talking about ratings with wrestling, it's usually like, okay, these segments were in there, so we can't really discern.
Yeah, I guess it's just weird when people like try to debate that like a certain segment did poorly, when it's like, I don't know, man, maybe like, I'm like, how many people are really seeing a character show up and deciding I'm gonna turn off my TV or switch the channel, and then hopes to God that when I come back I don't miss anything important.
Well, because I think they're, for a general audience, they don't care if they see every little thing. They'll turn and say, oh, does that look interesting?
I feel like it's easier to just keep it running and maybe mute it, or like take out your phone and like look at some shit, or like go, I'm gonna go piss.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people do. Honestly, what I would say is more important, if any of it is important in analyzing ratings, is the overall trends, or the year over year. So like, I am also not, I'm not active on Twitter, but I lurk on Twitter. So I would assume the thing you're referring to is a particular Dynamite episode that clocked in at just over 500K viewers, their lowest viewed episode.
No, I actually had that opinion before that happened.
I mean, I know you did, but I think that's
I think
why
I saw that, and I was like, I think I saw that, and I already had the plan to talk about it on this podcast, and I saw that, and I was like, fuck, they're gonna think I'm talking about that.
It's fair. I appreciate the clarity, but from like my perspective, what I saw, it was people, ardently defending it. What I found interesting was that last year at this same time in this same season, the Dynamite for that time period was at like 950K. That's a big drop off, and people were like, oh, there's a playoffs game. There was a playoffs game at that time last year. There was a Kendrick Lamar concert that did not cost them 300K viewers. Someone said, oh, they didn't have the Big Bang Theory lead in. They had the Black Panther lead in, which was way lower. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that they're like dependent on like 100K people accidentally leaving their TV. Like, there's not a lot of cross-pollination between Big Bang Theory fans and wrestling fans, Yeah,
that's wild to me. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's the end all be all, but if you're, if your show is pulling less viewers year over year, that's a bad sign.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, again, I'm not saying this is about AEW specifically, because I think I hate how much I know about ratings, because I don't want the information in my fucking head. It's just there because people talk about it, and then I read it, and I'm like, fuck, it's a ratings thing. And it's already earwormed itself into my fucking skull. And I'm like, get out! But I know that both brands are down, and I think it's because people would rather either watch it on DVR or watch it at their leisure through whatever method they get it from, right?
Oh, yeah.
I know for me, like, I never watch it live. I used to, and I'm like, fuck, it's too much. Like, I gotta be there at a certain time. I gotta sit there for the 2-hour chunk. I can't skip the commercials. Please just get a fucking deal with the streaming service. I beg of you, dear God. But like, I guess the thing I'm talking about is, like, I think the thing that pissed me off was a Chris Jericho thing, where it was like his demo was up, and I'm like, so one thing that might make sense, and I'll give this to you. Someone seeing someone they don't like and saying, all right, I'm going to go skip to it, like, another channel for 10 minutes. And when I come back, hopefully I don't miss too much and they're gone. What I don't understand is like, okay, so-and-so got a demo bump. So how were they to know this person was going to appear on TV?
They didn't. It's just that Chris Jericho is, he is a fixture. He's never going anywhere because of certain things.
I mean, whoever, right? That's why I said so-and-so. Like whoever it is, whoever it is that got a ratings bump. How do you know that 1 hour and 17 minutes into an episode of whatever show it is, your favorite character shows up, and that's when you tune in?
It's because you have to advertise the card. So whether
so you're saying that people are sitting there and they're like roughly, since the card structure at this time, fucking I don't know, fucking Cody Rhodes will show up on Raw, so I'm gonna wait for an hour in to finally hop on.
I do think if you advertise the card and it's someone people want to see, they will more likely hang around on an episode to catch them. Yeah.
Yes, but then the whole episode will be up theoretically.
But sure.
About think
that
about
just
like
means
a lot
the
of
card helped. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's like what a lot of, I say a lot, WWE and AEW, like when they're about to go into commercial break, they're like, hey, don't go anywhere because up next is this. If what that is something that's going to appeal, then you have, less people that are going to hop off. Or, if you have someone who has flicked away but is perhaps following what's going on social media, then you can see the announcement. You have about a 3 to 5 minute ad break to see that news and then go, oh yeah, I want to see that, or oh no, I don't want to see that. Like I don't think that most of the audience is like that analytic, but I think that's the mindset that they have when they do stuff like that for commercial breaks and stuff. Yeah,
I get commercial breaks because you're trying to hype people up and have them stick around. Yeah. And if it's a person they don't like, they'll be like, well fuck, the learning tree with Chris Jericho's up next, I'm gonna go take a shit.
Yeah.
Or like when you announce the main event and it's like, oh, okay, well, somewhere in like the last half hour or so. Assuming I'm not feeling it and I do tune out of the episode, I'll be like, okay, like a half hour before the end, I'll tune back in. Yeah,
fair enough. I think what I'm trying to say is like it feels like a weird nebulous stat, and it feels more like maybe people just like came on live at that point rather than they psychically knew that somebody they like was going to show up at that minute.
I don't think it's I think maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying. I don't think that's a factor. It's that they tune in and they say, okay, oh, I know this guy, or oh, I like this guy, and they stick around. Or they're watching the show, and if they're not that interested, they're like, oh, I can leave for a bit. I'll watch something else somewhere else maybe.
I think the thing
especially if it's like cable. Sports fans, it's like, oh, there's a game on, I'll just tune into that, see what the score is or whatever, and then when that goes to break, I'll tune back in here. And if they happen to tune back in and it's something that they're not interested in, then they tune back out. There's not a bump there. But if they tune in and they're interested and then they stick around for that 15-minute bracket, then it registers.
I guess people just have more faith in their cable than I do, because I feel like if I touch my Sling, it's gonna like fucking have a heart attack and die on me.
Well, it's because I don't think they're watching it on Sling. I think they just have cable.
Man, good for them.
They got the OG cable box.
They got a proper cable box that responds to their touches the first time in like a split second, and not like 5 minutes after you press the button.
Can't imagine.
That's crazy. I guess it's just a weird stat for me. I was seeing people argue like ratings and this person got a ratings bump, and I'm like, what the fuck does a ratings bump mean? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what is that? How do you know that they're gonna be there? I guess that just was like bothering me. For anybody, even if it's somebody that I like, it's like okay, that's cool, I like that person too, but like, how did, I don't know, the 100,000 people know to tune in at that moment to see that person? Were they just like lurking on Twitter waiting? I don't know.
I genuinely think that would be just either social media or they happen to tune in and then they stick around.
Yeah. It's just weird. I don't know. For me, it's weird. I don't know. Like, I guess, and I know to a degree ratings do matter. For both, but I also feel like to a larger degree, most people are not going to be. I think we're too Netflix streamer pilled as a society that most people want it now and accessibly, not live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, except I would agree. Because
I know that both shows, brands, companies are down year over year, and I think that's not to do with the quality. I think they're both fine. I think it's more to do with people who would rather DVR it or watch it on a streaming service, or obtain it through means,
Right.
then it's
But there are things where like for instance with WWE, there was a certain shift in who was running the shows. And once the King of Kings, Triple H, took over, for at least like the first few months, the ratings were higher at that point than they had been the previous year. And same thing with like when Dwayne the Cock Johnson had his feud with Cody Rhodes, and they heavily advertised that he was going to be on certain episodes. All that stuff. Those were higher than they were in previous years. So there are things, but definitely overall with cable, it's all going down.
Yeah, I think there's always stuff to where it's like, oh, I got to be there live to see this happen. I don't get spoiled on Twitter. But but for the most part, I feel like for me, I can always like obviously like the shows excite me. I want to watch them, but some nights I'm like, I can catch it like later or tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I would never watch it live anyway because watched fucking picture-in-picture commercials.
Yeah.
Ew. I pay for YouTube Premium for a reason. I want to watch fucking commercials.
But I mean, that's why that's part of where viewership comes in. That's why at like prime time viewing, you're seeing ads for like Domino's and Jimmy's John's and for
Samuel
like
Jimmy's John's.
And like 11 to 1 a.m. you're seeing Vern Fonk and like shit like that, where it's no one's gonna see this, but we bought it for top $5.
Yeah, I guess my point is like, I do think ratings do matter. I just think that people for just wrestling put way too much stock into the ratings. I think it's definitely a talking point.
I think wrestling fans, the thing is that the news cycle, the talking about it is almost as big an industry as it itself. I'm not saying there's other industries that aren't like this, but with wrestling, it's very much like every piece of news, everything must be covered, because wrestling fans are very obsessive. And I think that I think that's a pretty level-headed take, Sal. I think that ratings do matter, but obviously there are other factors, but obviously we can't know certain things because streaming services don't like to indicate viewership. And also they like to keep that on the inside.
Yeah, and also DVR numbers too. Like, are they gonna actually tell you? Well, so many people watched it live, but so many people watched it on DVR after the fact.
I know the BBC keeps track of that. I don't know if other companies do, but I know they do.
Yeah.
In the end, I think that the most important ratings to keep an eye on are all of the people that tuned in to listen and view our show. You all are the best, and I just not to force close us out, but
no, you should.
God bless all of you. Thank you all for watching.
Yes,
greatly appreciate.
More like listening, but I appreciate it anyway.
Listen. Well, we got nice art there, probably.
Re-render too. I forever was using the 720p version, and I've now upgraded to the 1080p version of Grace's beautiful art. And if I can bribe them well enough, they might even draw new art. Because I don't have long hair anymore. I don't do that anymore. That's
And I'm fatter.
So oh my god, we gotta.
I'm missing a lot of chonk.
Gotta update that. That's speaking of which, that's kind of why I want to do a second wheel time video with you. Like the rock, the visible aging of both of us.
Oh fuck. Oh god.
I want to crossfade it in the episode too.
We'll keep that a running theme that we discuss that in our following videos.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to bother you about it till after you're married.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm gonna wait. I'm a good person. I'm gonna wait.
My first message on my fucking honeymoon is gonna be like, "Hey, did you pack Wheel of Time?"
It's like, "Hey man, did you get my wedding gift, the Wheel of Time? I got you all 15 books."
Fuck. I got rid of my copies.
I know. That's why, as a wedding gift, I'm giving them back to you. I actually found them. The specific ones you gave to Goodwill. I found them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they didn't fly off the shelves.
No.
But,
Well, no. Yes, thank you all so much for listening to the Shuttlecast. We'll be back next week. I have a bunch of stuff we didn't get to talk about, like Superman and his outfit, and other stuff like Avatar.
I'll have probably less things to talk about, but we'll see.
No, there's always new trailers. There's always new bullshit.
That's a good point.
We never talked about Shrek or the Planet of the Apes movies.
Or
that's true.
David Lynch short films.
Yeah, man, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Forever. So thank you all so much for listening to the Shuttlecast. I've been Sal.
I've been Josiah.
And I've been Nathan.
Shuttle on, shuttlers.
We'll come up with a better one, I swear.
That was great.
Thank you. I was